All right, we are live this morning on Patty's Aquatics at Beyond the Dirt, and I am here with my good friend Chris from Stubbs Aquatics. Welcome very much, and thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was very kind of you. And good morning to everyone I see up there, being Polly and Branton and Mike and John. And I'm sure I've forgotten somebody already, but it's a real honor being on here with you. Um, yeah,
I,
I'm excited.
like I said, I feel like you're probably one of the closest people I've gotten to know in this YouTube hobby. I know there's lots of people we talk to throughout our
Yeah,
days, stuff like on here, but I think I've really gotten closer to you than probably anybody else because I really like you. I think I want to describe you almost as if you're my brother from another mother, but a Canadian one.
a northern mom.
Yeah. So, but I really enjoy like what you do in this hobby too. Like 'cause some of the things, like a lot of the things you do, I don't do, like with the koi ponds and stuff. So
Yeah,
it's interesting to be able to see that and experience it through here. Well, for things that I can't do myself, and I think that's really cool as well.
it's the same for me. I saw your channel and I'd been watching it and I subscribed and within a short period, I did a shout out and a bit of tribute to, and I went, this guy's going somewhere, and I really like him. And boom, you kind of blew up there, and I went, okay, now he's almost doubled my subscription. So, I'm really happy for you because you've done really, really well. And that's because you put out good content. You don't put out a video for the sake of putting out a video. And I like that. And, you're just an honest, down to earth guy. And, you know, I'm learning from you, and we do talk back and forth through Messenger and whatnot, and the odd little call saying, "Hey, what do you think here?" or "What's this?" or you know, sometimes it's product related, whether it's, "Hey, I got something. You want to try this?" or vice versa, and it's kind of like a trade off, and it's not like because I've got ponds and I have different species than you do, but it's the same thing. Like, hey, I didn't start putting dirt in my tanks until you said, "Yeah, do that." And you know, and at first I put gravel over it, and that just it does, as it doesn't work very well. And then I started with the sand.
Yeah.
I'm really liking it. I'm learning a lot from it because I really didn't keep plants other than in the ponds because that is so easy to keep plants in ponds because you put a little bit of dirt, lots of crappy clay, and gravel just to keep the fish out, and then it's boom, it's flourishing. But in a tank, it's different, right? As you well know.
Yeah.
And I just like it that you don't have to constantly. You're not adding root tabs, and you're not doing CO2, and while you're not even doing oxygen for most part, right?
Oh, no.
So yeah, I'm just totally impressed, and I really love anything natural looking. That's why I try to make my ponds as natural as possible. With the bog filtration, because what better system to clean than Mother Nature, right?
Right.
And a good big bog cleans way more than anything else, and I'm a firm believer in it, whether it's in your aquarium or your pond, because all my tanks will have plants either growing in them or growing out of them. Because who wants to do all the water changes, right?
Yeah. I mean, the
I, you know,
live plants are so beneficial.
yeah,
It's crazy to think that I went so many years in this hobby without them in the
yeah,
beginning.
me too.
I knew nothing, um, and then finally put some in there and really seeing really the potential and benefits that they have. Um,
Oh, there's just so many.
I couldn't see a tank without them anymore. Like I have a couple tanks that I do have air in, but it's just breeding tanks.
Yeah,
Some of them are bare bottom, but I put plants in it, whether it's a clump of Java moss or some hornwort or something in there, because that's going to help with pulling out any nutrients or nitrates and stuff like that, and it's just going to add oxygen to the water. And there's so many benefits to it. Like I get there's some species of fish that you can't keep plants
Yeah.
with, or probably very limited to the type of plants you can use. But even if you could put something on the top of your tank, like you have a lot of plants in your tanks and stuff from outside, to be able to put the roots in the aquariums, to be able to do something.
Terrestrial plants do
Yep.
well, and that one tank I've got going with it's a 90-gallon with a bunch of bumpkin fry, and it's just root city. It's like, wow, I would love to see that with somebody with a really well rocked tank with African cichlids. I think that would look amazing. Or even if you wanted to do a South American theme with angels and other types of cichlids from South America with all the roots, and you don't need aquatic plants. It would, I think, it'd just give you a different vibe and a different look, and because you know cookie cutter tanks, one after the other, and they're all the same. Well, it's fine for a fish shop, or if you're just strictly breeding.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in there in the hobby, and the whole idea for me, anyways, is I want to spend quality time in my tank, or with my tanks, or in my fish room, whether it's just chillaxing or answering people on for the comments, right? That you're just sitting back enjoying it and looking around, going, yeah, this is cool. I'm liking this, and then hey, I might change this or I might do that, instead of, okay, I got another 4 tanks to do the water change on. I got all this, and then my filter cleaning, and then I've got this, and it's time to scrape down all the algae, and then I've got this. Well, that just sounds like a work day to me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And sure, at the ponds, I do have to do filter changes and cleans and some water changes, because they're big fish and they produce a lot of waste, and that's the best thing for them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't been keeping up with all the comments and all the
That,
people in there, and we should probably say hello, because
yeah,
I've got on the
I
mouth.
will admit I am terrible at keeping an eye on the chat. I tend to listen to you guys that I have on here, and my eyes go away from the chat quite a bit. Let's see. Branton's in here. I don't know if you said hi before. Jim's Fish, Denise Mom, NC from NC Pleco Cavers, hey, John from My Fish Tanks Aquatics, Randy Kosh, Jody P, Mike from MC Aquatics. Morning all. How are you all doing on this fine Sunday?
I'm glad everyone could be here, and I owe Mike from M&C Aquatics a visit to his channel as well for doing a live stream, and I'm really looking forward to it. I was just trying to marry up times, because I normally won't do them when my wife's home, because with her work and it's just, you get to that point where you only got a couple hours a day together, or whatever, that you want to spend together. And if you're married for 37 years like me, well, that's why, because you're spending some time.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. My wife and I had a conversation the other weekend, because I had a lot of things on my plate one weekend, and she's like, you kind of pick and choose here a little bit, because I had like I was on Jorge's channel, and I had my live stream on Sunday morning. And it was just like, she's like, it's all weekend you're doing. I'm like, I get it. I just kind of do mine on the Sunday mornings, and then if it's something that's going to work out outside of it, I'll do it. I just can't be pushing it all in one weekend like that anymore.
Yeah, like there's a live stream I'm usually on Sundays, and it's, well, there's 4 of us. There's rotated, right? But I'll only do it the days, or the Sundays, that when my wife's working, because she gets Sunday off. Finally, we were doing something together, especially in the summer. And I don't want my hobby and my obsessions to come between me and my family, right?
Yeah.
And you gotta really watch that, because then there's a jealousy thing, that you love your fish tanks more than you love me, or vice versa, or whatever, right?
I've heard that myself. I get so, I'm very passionate about this stuff down here.
Me too.
I love it so much. Like, if I could have something with this be my actual job.
Oh yeah, that'd be a dream.
It would be, yes, it would. but that's obviously not actual. I have to go work in a factory 8 hours a day, and then still spend time with the family and time down here. So
I mean, other people have done it, but it's rare, right?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there was like a really cool local fish store around here that in my area that paid good money, oh God, I would do that and try to up my game here on YouTube and do more uploads and stuff like that. But then there too, I don't want to saturate what I do.
Yeah,
Like you
you
said
still want to
earlier, I
love it.
like to just I document pretty much what I'm doing, and I try to put out at least one video a week, and I
Yeah, I
typically don't
try to.
do with that.
I used to try to put out two, but and then it depends on the season and
Mhm.
what's going on because during the summer there's so much going on, especially if you're into doing outdoor, micro ponds or tubbing. We're so busy with that. Like I've got 4 or 5 or 6 going, and you usually have a couple, and it's just a busy time of the year for us. And there's
Yeah,
always lots of content.
yeah, yeah. It's a never-ending battle trying to keep up watching videos too. It's like I want to watch everything that's out there, and it's just like, oh crap, trying to catch up on my time here.
I
I'm
mean,
always I'm up
it's
very early.
impossible. It's impossible,
Oh yeah,
unfortunately. But the people that are constantly watching yours, and they're watching them, and they're not there for the 10 seconds. And I had a great show, and
yeah, yeah,
you know, so you reciprocate, and you give them the full view because that's what friends are, right?
absolutely.
You'll get several that you've hit the yep. Notify me every time if you don't hear from me, send me a link or on Messenger or Instagram or whatever because I do want to miss it and or don't want to miss it and YouTube's not always the best at notifications, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. I'll get notifications of videos that came out like 3 days ago. It's like what? I watched that already.
Mike, the barb tanks are doing really well. I'm actually thinking of going down to only 3 barb tanks instead of 4.
Really?
Yeah, just because I want to put all my barbs from India in one big tank.
Okay.
I've got 2 species in there, being the Aurelius, and the other one is a mascara barb. And I think I'll add my Denison barbs there once they get a little bit bigger, and then it'll be strictly all um, Dawkinsia, I think it's said uh, for that one. So
Cool.
that's the game plan. Then I'll probably move my gold barbs in with some of my hundreds of Odessas.
All right. So before we get farther, first I just want to say later on in the show, I am going to finally announce who this mystery guest is going to be at the end of the month and what my plans are for tomorrow. But that's later. But first, I want to ask you, Chris, what I ask everybody when they first come onto my little stream here is, how did you get into the hobby?
Oh boy, how did I get into YouTube or the hobby?
Well, the hobby first. We'll start with the hobby. We'll get the YouTube after that, or you can lead into it yourself, however you would like.
Um, the hobby. My uncle, as in my mom's brother, used to keep 3 or 4 tanks back when I was a kid, and so you're going back quite a few years, right? And he kept planted tanks, and they were always great. And then he gave a small tank to my brother and I, and they would always fail. We would always, you go down to the local fish store, and they'd sell you anything and everything, and research was hard to come by back then,
Mhm.
and most of the local fish stores were just looking at moving product and didn't really say like, what do you got going in there? What's your setup? Do you have this, that? So, I'm afraid I killed a lot of fish early on.
I think most of us have. I mean, I have.
I mean, it was almost like every other day something was going to die, right? Now, if you get a fish that dies out of all your tanks once every 2, 3 months, you're going, what the hell? what's going on here? And before that would have been like a dream come true.
Yeah.
So, that's going back over 50 years, right?
Mhm.
When I got into the hobby. I know it's hard to believe because I look like I'm 30, but
Yeah.
and this is why I'm using my laptop instead of my phone. So
You don't want to
it's
make
not
the rest of us
grainier and
feel
you can't
jealous of
tell.
your youthful face.
Handsome, go lucky look.
But I mean, I get to the point as far as like with the fish dying more when we were younger and first got into the hobby back those years ago, because I was sort of in that situation as well. Because there just wasn't the information out there as there is now. Like with
Oh,
YouTube and just the internet, there's so many
there's
answers and
no
questions.
internet back then.
Be able to talk to people on here and find information. Like now
Yeah.
it's completely different than it
Oh yeah.
was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a game changer now compared to what it was, in my opinion.
Like back when I started, and probably even when you initially started, you were reading fish magazines, and there was a lot of good information on those. Then their research, they were published, they stood behind what they're saying, and then boom, internet happened, and everyone's a rock star, and everyone knows everything, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to pick and choose what you believe, and I know both of us have gone against the grain of what we've been told because you tell us you can't do something, we're going to go, you know what? Screw you, pal. I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to do it. I
Absolutely.
mean, I was told I couldn't raise tropical fish outside. It'll never happen. And I did, and they exploded, and they breed like crazy outside. And
Mm-hmm.
well, you live in Canada. Yeah, well, it's not. I'm not living in igloos, 365 days a year, right?
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
So you want to get into the YouTube aspect.
Yeah, how did you get into the YouTube thing then?
Well, this is going to be a bit of a shocker here. I was anti any social media stuff. I didn't do any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't even have a cell phone up until my last few years at work when they made me carry
Mm-hmm.
one, and they bought it. So I just didn't use them. I didn't, you know, care what people had for breakfast or that cousin Eddie was coming for dinner. I didn't care. But then, basically COVID hit, right? And I was doing great during COVID because I had retired by then. I was okay being a bit of a hermit, but I would go days and days and days and days without seeing anyone or talking to anyone. And my family and um, other people didn't think it was very good for me, being that I suffer from PTSD. And I hate using that term because it's so overused, but over 30 years in policing, and most of it dealing with crimes, violent crimes against women and small children, really can take its toll. Um, so, needless to say, with that, brought on anxiety disorders, insomnia, depression, and whatnot. Getting back into YouTube itself, my family pushed me to get socially interactive and to talk to people who have the similar passions in life that I do. So I guess it's almost 4 years ago. My daughter-in-law started filming my backyard and around my ponds, and she goes, "Let's start you a YouTube channel, and we'll just put that up. You don't have to talk. You don't have to be in front of the camera because she knows I hate having my picture taken. I hate going in front of a camera. I know I hate going in
That's
front.
what you are now, buddy.
And so one thing led to another. After 3 or 4, I started to talk behind the camera, and then boom, they got me talking in front of one, which my counselor, therapist, whatever, with anxiety and depression and PTSD stuff. That hey, this is going to be a real good thing for you, stepping outside your comfort zone and talking to people. And you're going to find it stressful and hard. And I do every time I go in front of a camera. Um, I'm anxious, right? And, but it's good. You got to step into it. And so here I am 4 years later. I'm talking live to people that and sharing private stuff that I would never normally talk about. And anyways, let's get off that negative end
No,
and get
that's
into
fine.
the positive.
Yeah.
You know, I've really enjoyed interacting with a lot of good people. I've met some excellent friends, and I mean true friends like yourself, uh, that that I could count on and say, "Hey, I need this help," or if I was ever in your area, I'd be going, "Okay, Adam, you know, let's meet up. We'll go here, go there, and you know, probably get in trouble and
Absolutely.
have to make some calls to make sure, hey, we're okay."
So, well, first, thank you for sharing that story. I mean, I think that can be encouraging, probably for someone maybe watching out there that maybe could be struggling with the same type of issues. That maybe whether it not even be YouTube, but something that could help them, you know, get out there and help themselves a little bit. Um, and it's obviously it seems like it's helped, and I'm glad for
Yep.
that. Um, it, I didn't struggle with that, but like just it's very nerve wracking when you first come on these and make a video and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
And especially like with these live streams, I'll use as an example for myself. Like my first ones, I was a nervous wreck. I was like, "Why am I doing this? I don't want to do this. This is weird. Why am I doing this?" And I get on there and like weird talk. It's like uncomfortableness. Then I
Oh,
start
I
having
know.
on, and it was okay. Like I prefer to have guests talking for the most part because we can interact
Yeah.
and chat back and forth. But it's like I feel I'm more comfortable as they go, and
Yeah.
it was the
So
same
do I.
thing with videos as well. Like my first couple videos, is like I watch them back sometimes. I'm just like, did I really publish that? Like,
Like I admit I mumble, right? And that's been a real thing since dealing with that uh, anxiety and mental health. That it really affected how I talk, and that I mumble a lot more. So I'm really subconscious about it. So I don't really, I don't come across as a radio announcer. I don't have that voice. I can you know yell just fine, but I normally talk relatively quiet, and I tend to mumble. So it's just that much harder for me. So you know it is what it is. But
no,
I'm
I mean,
here.
it's a good story. It's an encouraging story for others, and for something to look back on yourself that this is something that helped. And like you said, we've met so many great people
Oh
in
yeah.
this hobby, this YouTube platform itself. Like I, I have a video that's going to come out on Christmas Eve where I talk about this a little bit, but I really love the fact that there's such a community of other hobbies like ourselves that are passionate about the same hobby. That yes, there's all these big YouTubers, and I'll use big in quotes, that have the
Yep.
high numbers of subs, but there is a heck of a lot more people out there with channels like ourselves that are together, and we really are the backbone, in my opinion, of this community, and we
Yeah, I think so
are the
too.
ones that drive it. And it's just great to be able to meet all these people. And I had no idea that there were so many out there like that. When I just watched YouTube, that's all
Yeah.
I knew was just the big guys. That's what I watched. But then when I got the channel, that's when I
I don't
started
I
getting
don't
to.
even watch the big ones anymore. I used to, and then it, when they're so big, and you have a question or you want to make a comment, you don't hear back, right?
No, typically
So
no.
on a side, on one that's your size or my size, I know you answer everybody, and I'll answer everybody, and and that's what people want to hear. I think is they want a response back, and it's not always just to throw their name out there. It's just they have a question, or they want to make a comment. Great, I'm
Mhm.
all for that. And speaking of comments, I want to do a special shout out here to Stubbs Aquatics, who said he had the same issue there. And you have any problems, you give me a message, and I'll be there in a heartbeat to help you, Ed. Good on you stepping up like that.
Nice. Oh. Yeah, with I watched some of the big channels yet, but not as many as I used to. Like I'll keep up with like Aquarium Co-op and Father
Yeah,
Fish,
I'll watch co-op.
stuff like
I
that. But
just wish the product was available here. I understand you can through someone else, but
yeah,
the pricing's off the roof, so that just leaves that out.
he's been pretty smart with marketing his. I mean, yes, in Canada it's harder, but like within the United States, to be able to market his products to other local fish stores, to be able to sell through there as well. He's pretty. I don't know. He's pretty smart when it comes to marketing stuff.
Oh yeah, but you start dealing with Joey, King of DIY. Like, good luck at ever answering him.
No.
Even though I'll give him a plug because he's Canadian, right?
Yeah.
Or you look at is it Luke's Goldies, who's got like a couple million subscribers. Okay, you breed some goldfish and you're kind of a little goofy. Why? What's the attraction? Like,
Yeah.
And I'm really not saying that in a negative way. It's just,
I mean, some people just, I guess, they blow up with, whatever the case may be.
He's got a bunch of Rubbermaid tubs in the basement, and he'll breed or bring in fancy goldfish, and then he'll sell them.
Nice.
And he'll talk about them, and it's some of it's interesting, and a lot of shorts. But you go, wow. And that, speaking of, he left his job and he does that full time, and same with Joey. Good on them, and
yeah,
go on and live your dream, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can figure out the way to do it, like I wish I tell people at work sometimes that I wish I would have known about this a long time ago.
And
a long time ago. Like I have, they're like, I watch a couple of YouTubers that they're like my just fun ones to watch that aren't really fish tubers for the most part. Like I watched like Paul Cafaro and his buddy Branton over at Fanatics just because they're idiots. It's fun to watch them just be idiots together, But I was watching a podcast with that Branton, and I think he's only like 21, and he started this when he was in high school, and he was saying how he makes like almost like $45,000 a month doing this YouTube. I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? It's like I didn't start early enough, and then they have all the friends, I guess, that kind of like bump off of each other. But I mean, if you be able to do that, that's crazy.
Well, I don't think you want to see me prancing around without my shirt.
No,
I'm not sure the public's ready for that. Really, I'm sure I jumped in the pond a couple times with shirtless, but a lot of people did have to seek therapy right away. So, but I pre-warned them.
Nice. Oh man. All right. Well, let's change. Let's change subjects a little bit. I want to talk about your video that you put out. Was it yesterday or the day before? About one of your goldfish that passed. And if you want to talk about that a little bit and tell us what happened.
I don't. With goldfish, especially the fancy ones, they're really prone to swim bladder issues. Now, I predominantly have Shubumpkin goldfish, and I breed them, and I'm not trying to sound boastful. I'm known pretty high in the community of goldfish throughout Canada, the States, and South America, and other places, and in the UK as a pretty good Shubumpkin breeder and high quality. And I get emails and messages weekly about, can I send them or sell them to them and send them, and they'll pay freight and all that. Oh, it's not worth it to you. It's not. It's not. And I think they're pretty good quality fish because I've been breeding them for years and years. But with goldfish, they are prone to swim bladder. and no matter what you do, uh, some get it. And um, one of my up and coming breeders that was going to breed this year started doing a bit of gulping it, and I'm going, okay, this isn't right. Um, and wasn't swimming around weird or anything like that. I was just, you're hanging around the top way too much. Full eating, and I feed my fish quality feed. North fin, uh, pellets. I give them shrimp. I give them a combination of really good like omega ones, and it's all good food. So it's not that. And my water quality is good, at least in my opinion. It's good. I keep up with all the stuff I need to do with the tanks, and they get outside and whatnot. But this one started acting up, and I did the salt treatment, and had done the water changes, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna hit it with methylene blue, just in case it's a bacterial or some other thing. I couldn't see any. There was no egg. There was no fungus. There was nothing visual. There's no open sores or anything. This isn't good at all. And then it's lying on the substrate upright, and just breathing. The gills are moving, and it's not gasping. I'm going, okay, this is not good. So after a day or so of the methylene blue not working, I removed the fish, and I put it down quickly. Uh, but I really wanted to look at the gills, because if you get some gill illnesses, it can spread pretty quick, whether they're you know parasites like flukes, or there's several diseases can affect gills. I needed to get a good look. So I was really happy to hear or see that the gills were nice cherry red. They weren't bleeding or anything. They were nice red. They weren't pink. They weren't white. So I was good with that. So then I wanted to look at the swim bladder, and swim bladder has two parts to it. There is a little bind between them, but if they get twisted, well, there's your issue. And sure enough, there had been a twist in it, and it was disappointing because it was. I originally thought it was a male, but it turned out to be a female, and she had eggs in her, and she wasn't egg impacted or anything. But I was planning on breeding the fish this year, thinking it was a male, but it would have got bred anyways. Um, so I did a bit of a necropsy on it, and I think that's important to do when you have a bigger fish, and to learn why it died, and so whether you have to continue treating your fish, or if you can usually tell if it's been a nitrite spike or ammonia spike, right? But there had not been that, so I don't have the funds to send it off to be done. But you've got some quality fish that you want to breed, and these are your up and coming potential showfish or breeders that you don't want to mess around with, right? So
No.
I think it's important to do a necropsy on the fish. Now, a couple of viewers didn't like that, unsubscribed, but I pre-warned them, and I didn't go into great,
Yeah.
but some people are just like that.
Yeah. It's different people make the world go around, I guess you could say kindly. I find nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. I mean, it's your knowledge is power. You want to know what happened.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if it's something that could infect the rest of your fish, I don't see what the difference between that is and dosing a tank, or, taking a fish out. And, you should be able to do your research and figure out what's going on. Um,
Oh, yeah.
it's not
Yeah,
get the suffering because of what you did.
let it suffer for 2, 3 more days, and then toss it in the garbage, right, or the compost. Oh,
Then you never know.
I know with the father fish method, he's gonna put it down underneath the substrate, and let the plants go, okay, more nutrients, right?
Yeah.
Now I don't know if I do that with the big die off.
No, not in your tanks. Maybe in your pond. Well, you have the pond liners. All
Maybe
that. You know,
smelling that for a month of Sundays.
yeah, no, that wouldn't be good. Not good at all. I think the most I ever dug in my substrate, my tanks back in was like one of my swordtails that passed away. Um, I don't really keep anything bigger except for my two big guys over here. And well, I wouldn't put them in the substrate when they pass. They're just like you said. That wouldn't.
Oh, unless you do a big pond, right?
What's that?
Unless you do a big pond.
Well, yes, some
I know. Once the swing set goes, and
yes, yes, that was the deal I made with the wife. I said I want to put a big pond in the backyard. She said you got to wait till the daughter's old enough or the swing set is gone and she doesn't want to play on it anymore. I'm sure she'll come up, my wife, with some type of excuse why I can't do it after that.
what about a nice IBC tote and then clad around it, like I've got here, basically?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then put a window in it.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely options like that. I've thought about it like behind my garage. I never showed it on the channel, but I've got an area where I could like line up totes or like 55-gallon barrels and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you're into breeding, like when I breed my barbs, I do all the breeding of the barbs outside in barrels, and it's a real simple method, really simple. I drape a pool net in it, so it's the pool net's only down yay far,
Mhm.
and then I'll put marbles and a bit of live plant and a bit of water lettuce in there, and a sponge filter at the bottom, and I'll just let them feed natural feed, and I'll give them some food. But you'd be surprised how quick they breed, and the eggs drop down way to the bottom.
That's very. I'm glad you said that because I actually was researching that method for my white clouds in a 5-gallon bucket. I watched what was his name from Keeping Fish Simple over in Australia, I think it is.
Yeah,
Nick I can't remember his name.
can't remember his name.
Yeah, I was watching one of his videos and he was showing how he bred white clouds in a 5-gallon bucket. He put netting in there with a little bit of plant and he put his fish in there and for a day took them out and all the eggs dropped down. I'm like, well, that's one way I want to try it now because I've been struggling with my white clouds in here to breed them. Besides doing some weird things to try to do it, and so I thought that was my next kind of step. I have another idea too, but yeah, that would be a good idea for outside for a bigger quantity, for a larger quantity of fish like that. And
Well,
idea.
with that, I left the parents out there all summer long, and they kept breeding all summer long. And my Odessa barbs, I counted over 250 fry, and they were this big by the end of the summer.
Mhm.
So I was selling those left, right, and center, and then I saturated the area I'm in. I still ended up with like 100, because I had bred them a couple of years like that in a row. And
Mhm.
same with the gold barbs, the rosy barbs, and what other ones did I use? Black rubies, and I couldn't keep up with it, and there was nothing I had to do for them, and it was so simple. Sure, I was adding baby brine shrimp, and because there's not going to be enough natural food. There is like still plenty, but
Mhm.
to raise that many, and the size and the coloring that the adults got, like you go, okay, your barbie's normally this big, it's now this big. You're going, okay, something to this summer thing, and being outside and
Oh yes,
natural light, natural food.
yeah.
That just puts the size of them. And then that was only a 55-gallon barrel. It's not
Mhm.
like a huge tank. Christ, the tank they were in was bigger. So
It's
go, and they only had this much area to swim in, right?
it's absolutely amazing the growth that you can get on fish outside. Now, the
Oh
last
yeah,
years I've had guppies out there, and I've had different cycles of like stages of these guppies that were born in there, raised, had more babies, born. I just it's insane the amount of guppies that I would be able to have out there in those ponds. Now, this year I want to sway away from guppies. I'm trying to get away from them a little bit. I really, like I said, I'm trying to build up those white clouds because I want to put them in my big 100
white
gallon.
white white clouds. I would suggest to keep in the 55-gallon drum
Mm-hmm.
and keep the mesh and let them keep going all summer long. and because you will be surprised how many you get.
Yeah. And then I
And
want to rice
the good
fish.
thing about the 55 is you're not going to get the temperature swings that
Mhm.
you would in a 5-gallon
True, it's
bucket
deeper. Yeah,
because obviously we live in the same, you and I, basically the same climate
sure.
where, I know I'm in Canada, but you draw a line and we're pretty close.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so, summer gets hot,
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
real hot, right? You've got 15, 16 hours of sunlight going, right? And
Mhm.
it gets hot. And, you could be pushing close to 100 degrees almost, and if it's not partially shaded.
Yep.
So, and then nights can drop way down. So you don't want that big swing. So that's why I go with the 55-gallon ones.
Yeah, I definitely have look into that. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of look on my Facebook marketplaces around here always to see if people are selling any of those. Because I already thought about it by putting them behind my garage because it gets a little bit of sun in the morning, but otherwise it's going to be shade the rest of the day. So it'd be a perfect
Oh,
spot for
how,
them.
how much is a little bit of sun? Like, are you going to get 6 hours?
No, it's in the morning hours, so probably like 3, 4 tops.
I think you would need a little bit more sun than that just
Okay.
to get it. Like where I've got it is facing east, up against the house.
Hmm.
So come about 12, 1 o'clock, it gets shaded. The heat's
That
still
might be
there.
close to 6 then because mine's facing east as well against my garage.
So if there's nothing blocking the front, you should get
Yeah, I have a
good.
fence, but it's probably a good 30 feet away.
You should get a good 6 hours, and then that's plenty of light, and then enough heat, and it's not going to overheat because it's in the shade after that.
Yep.
And that's where I found mine did the best,
Okay.
and I got the best success because I had bred white clouds out there previously, and swords, and
Mhm.
any live bearer just goes insane.
Yeah, I tried the white clouds out there last year. I had them in that little barrel, not barrels,
Yeah.
it was like fake whiskey barrel thingies, and that was disaster. I didn't keep them covered. I didn't really think they'd jump. It was less than probably 2 hours. I went out there to look, and I found all but I think like two of them, or was it all of them? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
All
I remember watching that video.
Yeah, all dead, dried up on the hot concrete, dried out with ants eating them already. I'm just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So that's when I started my indoor attempts at breeding them. I can't get them to community breed for the most part. They're just too
Hmm.
ravenous with eggs, and if they do hatch, I don't know. I've never seen any.
What I've
Right.
read uh, is that white clouds will not breed unless they're the species only.
Yeah.
And I mean anything else. Brussels knows anything else in that tank. They need just them, and they like a bit of current
Mm,
because they are a mountain stream fish, right?
true. True.
So
I
they
didn't
like
think.
that current and they like that movement. Um, Sorry to interrupt. Thanks, Brent, and that was very nice of you. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
What about shrimp, Stubbs? As in outside, they would do
I think you
fine.
mean the white
Oh,
cloud.
I don't keep anything in with the white clouds. Just white clouds only if your intent is just to breed them.
Yeah, I got shrimp in with my big community one, but then I had a pair in a little 10-gallon that was just them. I wound up finding like 2 or 3 fry in there, and I had another pair in the other 10-gallon, and I found one in there. That was all I ever found. Now, I did watch White Cloud Dynasty quite a bit and watching some of his videos, and he was talking in his videos that if you put like a pair by themselves in there, it's less. If you have a whole tank full of them, there's more of a ferocious, like, I want to eat everything that's there, compared to like maybe one pair in a tank where they're not going to be as bad. But I still couldn't find nothing in there. What I always have to do is I put like my egg crate or rock over it at the bottom of aquarium, so almost
Yep.
similar to the netting type
Yep.
thing, so
Let's
there's a
go top.
and then I would have a little bit of luck, but I don't have. I need
You,
the
you
thing
would
better
have
than.
you would still have to remove the parents.
Yes, then you got to take
Um,
them after.
that's what I said. If you use the other, the fish are got somewhere to hide, as
Yep.
in the fry. Parents
Yep.
can't get to them. Food can get to them, and then as they get bigger, they can come up, and then they're fine. But Like you've seen the fry of white clouds, and they have to be the most beautiful fry going. That
Oh,
blue
yeah.
in them,
Yep.
that makes a neon tetra look sad, actually.
And that's why people always said they're like the poor man's neon tetra. I'm like, I don't get it. They don't look like anything like them until I saw those fry. I'm like,
I mean, you saw
ah,
that
there you
blue.
go. That's why.
Look at that blue. I'm going,
Yeah.
why can't you guys keep that blue all the time?
Uh, Branton says, I think the secret to white clouds of fry survival, like most fish, is heavy plant cover, and a lot of people skimp on plants.
Yep.
Possibly. I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. I keep lots of plants in mine. I actually took some of the. I had a huge clump of Java moss in mine in the middle that grew so big. The shrimp really liked it, but I put the Java moss in there originally so the white clouds could go in there and scatter their eggs in, and I have rocks underneath it. But yeah, I don't know. That tank is just for the white clouds. I want to be able to get that number probably doubled for summer to put out my tubs for next summer. So like I said, that's what this winter is going to be about for me, is trying to breed some of those guys. But yeah, but overall the outside like breeding part of everything I just find amazing, and you do a lot of that, and I think that's really cool too, to be able to see what you're doing outside with your tubs and your barbs, and it's amazing to see that that is possible. It's like, okay.
Like I do that for me,
Oh yeah.
basically, because I think both of us know you don't get a lot of views on your tub videos,
Nope.
and I don't understand it because, like, if you're in the hobby, right, and this is the cheapest, easiest way to have a pond. You need an air bubbler, a sponge filter, and a $10 uh, food grade 55-gallon drum that you cut the top off.
Mm-hmm.
The end. That is your entire setup,
Yep.
and it is so much fun to watch that. And you yourself, you got lilies growing and everything, and it just gives you that something to go and look in from up above, or you can get all fancy and put some Lexon in there, and put a little window.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got so many options, and I'm going, why?
I agree with you. The first time I had tubs outside with YouTube and I made the video, I was really excited. I'm like, because I love the first time I ever seen like online that you can keep fish outside. I'm like, yeah, you can keep fish outside. That makes sense. Let's do this. I made my first video on it. Like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I think I got like 120 views on it. I'm like,
Yeah.
like what?
Yeah.
Like, this makes no sense.
Well, same when I do koi videos, right? Unless you're in the UK, you don't get any views. If you're from North America, you get a few.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is with YouTube, right?
Yeah, and I never understand it, but I guess that just shows you too, really what. You would think more people would be interested in it. I know maybe it's just me and not, maybe you too, but I find that an interesting part of it to be able to. I never. You can okay. Let me backtrack. You can keep fish in an aquarium like we do, like everyone does. Probably it's watching this,
Yeah.
and you can enjoy it and try to make it look as close to natural if that's what you prefer and all that. But
Yeah.
nothing's gonna beat it than what you do outside to see that
Yeah.
actual natural sunlight glisten on the fish and see
Yeah.
the interaction and the little bugs that you see swimming around and them eating it. I find that all fascinating.
Oh yeah.
And interesting.
And the fish act totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's a different vantage point because you're looking generally from up above.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing barbs or anything and you want to start hand feeding, that's the spot to do it, is outside, and it's a lot of fun. And I spend hours out there. You go to have a pop out there with them, and you're enjoying outside, you're enjoying nature, because and then you're going, come on, mosquitoes, lay your eggs here, would you?
Yeah. It's a perfect excuse to be outside too. What I always told myself, like I also wanted them out there because now I'm going to sit on my butt out on my deck and just watch, and I find that cool too. But,
Yeah, Paul, you can put troughs out there. There's so many things that aren't expensive. Uh, you can buy a good sized tote that probably would hold 45 gallons
Yep.
for less than $45,
Yep.
and they're hard. They'll sustain up to about that, and they're easy, and you can dress them up so they look half decent.
Mm-hmm.
And they're obviously for summertime only, but it's just great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to keep your dogs out of it, but they'll
Yeah.
drink water.
That's my dog up with my 100-gallon Rubbermaid tote. If you're not paying attention.
I mean, my dog, she'll drink only from the streams, but she's in there, but she doesn't bother going in the ponds. Yet she loves swimming. But yeah, I think it's a hoot, and I encourage everyone to go give it a shot if you have access, whether it's a balcony in an apartment or whatever.
It doesn't have to be big. You can get like a 10-gallon type of little tote or like planter that's sealed at the bottom. As long as it's something you can put fish in, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and you'll thoroughly enjoy it. So I would encourage everyone to go give it a shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's just so many aspects to this hobby that you know are evolving, and we as keepers are evolving and going. Okay, like you said, I always think outside the box, right? And just because someone tells you you can't do it doesn't mean it can't be done.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a try for yourself. Maybe it will work. Maybe it won't. A lot of things that I was told I couldn't do, I do. Sometimes that's got me in trouble in life. But uh, as far as fish keeping, give it a shot. You know, I don't heat my tanks. I'm told you've got these barbs. They got to be in. No, they don't. Or with my cichlids and what has been crevenzas, no, they got to be in like 74, 75 to really thrive. Well, they're breeding like crazy, and they're in 72 degrees because I heat the room, not the tanks. And the fry are doing amazing, and I want to do an update on those fry because they're doing really well, and the parents are great, and they've kept all the other fish. So I feel bad for the other fish that are in there. They're in the little wee section about the size of this bottle in a 55 long, and that's as far as they can get out. But it's great. And, for those who haven't seen my latest fish room tour, I would encourage you to it because I think I've got 16 tanks and my 300-gallon pond behind me.
Speaking of the pond, I wanted to get to that before we have to wrap this up at some point. You got a really cool pond behind you that you built. You have the whole process on your channel, which I think is really cool. And if you haven't subscribed to Chris's channel, make sure you hit that sub button. Go not only check out all his videos, but check out that pond build from behind you. So what gave you the idea? If you want to kind of run it down, I know from your video, but how did that come about? And how'd your wife let you be able to have it in your house?
Oh, Jesus. There's a lot of begging, whining, pleading, and then eventually a trade-off. I needed more tank space because I wanted to keep other species other than just shibump and goldfish, and I wanted to keep a lot of quality broodstock, and I couldn't keep them in my tanks because they're 125 at the best. I've got 390 or 290s, 100, and two 125s plus other tanks. But those are my big tanks for big fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to free up some space for some fry and other species, plus my barbs. So I go, I gotta have an indoor pond. And my wife says, no, 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 it's gonna leak. It's gonna leak. No, it won't. It won't. It won't. So after pleading for numerous years, I got the okay to build it as long as it doesn't leak and it doesn't smell. So I decided to go with a pond that was basically a preform. It wasn't a preformed pond; it's just preformed. It's 300 gallons with no drain on it. So basically, I built. I'll get out of the way here. Basically, a hot tub frame around it, and I put sand substrate in there. There's some live plants and a couple fake plants in there, but there's a lot of terrestrial plants around it and in it that are removing lots of nitrogen. There's two underwater lights. There's two underwater filters, plus 4 sponge filters, and then there's also a water clarifier in there. So there's a lot, but there's a lot of big fish in here, right?
Oh yeah, nice.
And I like it. It's got lots of plants. You sit down. There's palm plants all around. I've got pineapple plants growing. It's just somewhere that you can escape the winter here, because, as you well know, winter can last 6 months or more. I mean, we're lucky if we get spring by mid-April, right?
Yeah.
You can pretty much guess the last snow will be sometime in May.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not snowing nonstop, but you're out there.
Still on the ground
It's,
prevents you
it's
from doing
hot one weekend. The next weekend, it's snowing, and you're going, "Oh, come on,
Yeah.
bring on the real spring." So, I wanted something I could keep my fish in all year round, and you know what the trade-off was, right? I told my wife that she and my daughter would go on a cruise. Well, they were going to go on one anyways, so I got the pond. They were going to go on a cruise regardless. Oh,
Yeah.
just tell herself it was a trade-off, and I know damn well that. Yeah, I just let her think that she was getting the.
That's perfect.
So she won. Wink, wink.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, you got the pond you wanted, and that's what's.
So, yeah, you may have to delete this section, then try with your wife thing.
Yeah. I'll play the same game. I want my pond outside. You want to go on vacation? Okay.
Yeah, go to it.
Can I get the pond before we go on vacation?
John, anytime you want to come up.
Nice. I see Jesse was in the chat. Hey, Jesse. I did get my Christmas lights up for you. I'll try to give you a little spin around if you're watching. I got them up in the fish room. So there you go, buddy. Hope you're happy. And like I told you, Christmas Eve, I got a video coming out. It's going to show me putting them up and be something a little different for my channel. So make sure you guys check that out. But we're getting close to the hour mark here, which I try to cut it off at so the wife don't kill me. Says we got to go shopping yet. But,
that's gonna hurt.
Say thank you very much for coming on, and like I said, I enjoy talking to you, whether it be in Messenger, on here, in the chats. I just feel like we got a good click together, and it's fun. That's what makes it fun. I mean, yeah. I love this hobby.
I consider you a true friend, not a social media friend, but a real friend. Like, if I needed to talk about something personal, I would be able to talk to you about it. And we have back and forth, whether, with health issues or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And we've been able to do that. And except for, I get hung up on, do I call him his real name or his stage name?
Yeah. Well, it's really not a fake name. My middle name.
I said stage name.
Oh, stage. I thought you said fake name.
Stage. I mumbled.
Yeah, I see. Since this has come out more, like I talked about it on Jorge's live stream too, more people are starting to call me Adam. So like even in the chats, if I go on other streams, so I'm thinking, are they talking to me or is there another Adam on here? Do I reply? But yeah, I go by either Adam or Patty. My wife's family calls me Patty. My wife calls me Patty. My freaking oldest kids call me Patty. My grandson calls me Grandpa Patty. So it's all good. I like all of them.
And my wife calls me Stubbs. No.
Yeah. But before we're done, I do want to talk about what's going on in the next 2 weeks. So next week, I do not have a guest, but I have something a little special planned. I want to try doing a live interactive fish room tour. So people can come on. I'll show you every tank. If you got questions about certain things or you want me to show you a certain thing within my fish room or explain something, that's kind of the plan I want to do for next week, just to kind of switch it up a little bit. And I'll probably hop back to that YouTube vertical stream and just try that out again. I haven't used it in a while. So that's next week. But for December 20, is that the 7th? I lost. The Sunday after, or the 9th, 29th, at special time at 1 p.m. Central Time, I will have a guest on. This is the one I've been teasing for a while. The guest I do have on, and I just got it confirmed this week, is Corey McElroy from Aquarium Co-op. He's going to be coming on my live stream and talking with me and with all of us. I know I told you already, Chris, backstage. But yeah, it's very exciting to be able to have him on. I have so many questions. It's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it'd be cool for the channel, but that's not even what it's about for me. It's about like, how many people actually get the opportunity to get down and sit and talk to a guy and ask him these questions, ask questions I've always wanted to know from him and things like that. So
he's a down to earth guy too, right? Like, you know, as you told me before, he's visited your channel and he visited mine once, and I was like like a little kid going,
yeah.
And then, you know, he mentioned me on one of his lives, and I went, okay.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really good, really good. This is like, you know, this is my Christmas.
Yeah. So yeah, very, very excited. Like I said, he's, like you said, down to earth, like you said. Like I told you earlier, like I was chatting with him about how I thanked him for coming on. It was kind of making my year, and how he told me, you know, he's like, well, I'm glad it was so easy. I'm like you're a funny guy. I like this. I think there should be some good banter on that day too.
Yeah, I think so.
Gonna try to play it similar to like Father Fish's live stream, where I'm trying to come up with questions. We'll free float a little bit with chat and stuff too, but I want to ask him some about like the dirted tank side of it as well.
Yeah, I think I would have about 3 or 4 points that you want to talk about, and then everything else is just free flow. Plus, all your guests are going to go. Well, they'll probably have a million questions for them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, you want to entertain those questions as best you can.
Yes.
Because that's important to them that they get a response. And I feel bad that I didn't, you know, comment on everyone's comment, because there's been so many good comments. But you and I have been just chatting like, you know, we're across the bar, like a bar and having a beverage, right?
Yeah.
And we're just shooting the gab. I was gonna say shit, but he didn't want me to say shit. So
yeah. Yeah, I don't care. So that's my thing. That's my biggest problem with these streams is I have a hard time keeping an eye in this chat, because I get so interactive with the people that I have on that, you know, it's just hard. So it's still something I tell myself every week: pay more attention to the chat, try to get interactive more with it. And I'm still here talking and I forget.
You almost need somebody sitting off to the side, throwing the chat up or the question up, so you see it, and then you can go from there. Or if you can get somebody, I don't know, because I don't do StreamYard. I only do YouTube Live, and I'm not very good at it.
Yeah.
But you know, it's nice if someone can throw up the comment, because then you're forced to see it basically.
Yeah.
And then you can answer it, and it's just an idea.
Yeah.
Whether your kids are tech savvy and they're doing it for you, because sure as hell it wouldn't be me.
No, the StreamYard is actually nicer on my phone here. I can actually see the chat better than the YouTube one. Yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, again, like the next 2 weeks, I've got some cool things lined up. But other than that, I really appreciate you coming on, Chris. It was so much fun to be able to talk to you. If you're not subscribed to Chris's channel, I know it's been in the chat. Subscribe. I also have a link to Chris's channel on the description of this live stream, so you can also click on there, and a quick click there, then a click to hit that subscribe button if you haven't. So again, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. And it's been great. You know, we've talked on the before, but it's nice, you know, just sitting like this. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's been a total pleasure of mine. So thank you, and thanks all the people that commented, and all the ones that are on the replay crew. They're going to watch this later. Thanks. If you haven't subscribed to Adam's channel, make sure you do that, because great guy, honest guy, especially when it comes to dirty tanks and any of his reviews. They're totally honest. He's not going to do it just because he got a free product. So yeah, great guy and a true friend. So thanks, and I look forward to doing another one of these with you down the road some.
Definitely. I definitely want to have it come on again. So, all right. Thanks everybody for coming on. Like I said, next 2 weeks, kind of some interesting things coming on. So make sure you pop on back, and everyone have a great Sunday, and yeah, have fun, and see you next time.
Bye for now.